Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Edric Show. I am your host, Edric Jerome. This is the place for intelligent conversation with interesting people. Go ahead and ring that notification bell, hit that subscribe button, and you'll get notified when I post content each and every week. My guest is Oh Tepmongkol-Wheaton, a digital innovation pioneer. As CEO of the Ozone Incorporated and Filter Us, she's revolutionizing how brands connect and reduce waste through digital swag and by turning followers into brand ambassadors. With a master's degree from Stanford University and experience working at Nvidia and Intel, this Forbes Next 1000 honoree has organized groundbreaking initiatives like the world's first Metaverse March for Women's Rights, and she's helped Global Strays raise $100,000 in 5 days. She's accomplished all of this from her humble beginnings from waiting tables at her family's Thai restaurant. Oh, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. My pleasure. My first question, of course, is tell me about the ozone and why you created this company.
Well, I think, this has started, about maybe 9 years ago. And it started from the fact that the burgeoning of, e-commerce. And I felt that, that we'll start shopping for clothes online. Now it's a norm, but back then in 2015, it was not. And so my daughter moved to college. And so we start, trading links, online. And I felt like it's missing something that, that what we wanted to do was to create something that we can connect. And it's kind of like a social shopping together with, that was my desire to start. Right. And those have evolved into it has evolved into, things that are different now, but it's still the same goal where we wanted to connect with each other in a way that's meaningful as well as experiential instead of just, transactional. I say this to my daughter. We shop on Amazon or we shop on, even Google and all these websites. We shop like a man shop, where we go, this is what you want, you type it in and then you buy. That's it. It's very transactional. So there's no what do you think or so I think that we're still lacking in e-commerce. Hence, when you buy things, hence it's a lack of discovery, on online shopping. You got to know what you want. You can't be looking for something, you have to know what you want. Yeah.
So, how does your technology work in terms of? Because I know you've had some success in the fashion world, and you're really doing some cool, innovative things. So, tell me about your technology and what people can expect when they engage in your technology.
Well, our technology is different in a sense where, we want to create that experiential kind of like as if, where the detail are so stunning, where you feel like you were holding the product because it's so detailed and it's so realistic. Or, where we put you in a scene, in a magazine, where you felt like you were part of the scene, right? Because, these type of experience, I like to compare it to, when you go to the mall, you see people, you go to the food court, right? That's one thing to see people eating, teriyaki chicken. It's another when you get a little bit of piece of teriyaki chicken, people hand it to you, go, oh, this is what we're looking for, that type of experiential that we're looking for to connect and basically to engage. Because without engagement, you actually can't convert your third person viewer. At this point, when we're watching video or picture, we're still a third person. We're just looking at somebody doing something. So what I'm trying to do is trying to create a first person digital experience. It's kind of like a glimpse of what it is to have that dress, a glimpse of what it is to hold, an object. So it's kind of like a different trigger in your brain because this is where, we can, when we have that little experience, we actually, can create empathies and emotional engagement in the storytelling that you want to do or the product that you trying to, try to sell. Yeah.
Hmm. I mean, everybody talks now about, of course, AI, artificial intelligence, but then there's also augmented reality. So maybe you can talk about, AI, of course, and augmented reality, and how you're navigating in that space.
Well, thank you for asking that question. We use both AR and AI to create the experiential, engagement with the consumer or with your audiences to create that first person experience. AR is basically, basically we put, things from the cloud, into your world, into your reality. And of course, AI, you know what it is. Basically, it's created, it's either language or interpret, things or trying to create certain things that, kind of get you a deeper understanding, right? So we use both of, I don't know what you would call it, artificial intelligence, but the and the misnomer in using augmented reality is people are thinking that they're going to use goggles, right? But I don't believe in that. I believe that phone is the most accessible form of augmented reality. Like your phone has all the geo, locator and all of these things that's built in, right? And most people have phone and have smartphone. So I think that, you know, sometimes our impression is just a glimpse or a hint. Just like a taste of teriyaki chicken. You know what it tastes, the whole chicken tastes like once you have just a piece. So, that's what I was trying to engage and have that experience. And the AI part that we use is to actually kind of put you in the scene. So it's a two portion where we use your phone. It's a mobile experience, and we use AI to put you in a scene. Because I mean, I like to use this example. When you buy a polo shirt by Ralph Lauren, you're not buying the shirt itself, not the fabric, not the shirt, not the clothing. You bought that image of being the guy with the little emblem and on a horse, so it's an experiential thing that you're trying to project. I think people miss that point where it's not transactional, because otherwise I just go get a $5 polo shirt from Target or wherever is cheapest, right? But that's not what people are buying. Yeah.
Now if I understand this correctly, you guys have patented with something that's titled 3D real
Mm-hmm.
technology.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Tell me about the 3D real technology, and but more importantly, I want to know about the patent process because you have several patents that you've secured.
Mm-hmm.
So talk to me about your technology, obviously your technology, but tell me about the patent process itself because and how are you protecting yourself? Because, as you mentioned with technology, patents, you have a patent, but people can copy things these days. So how are you able to protect the patents you have? And let me ask also, how many patents do you have?
Well, I think maybe 7 or 8. I mean, I wanted to say, that as a technologist, patent is something, in some sense, it's not what people think. Like you said, it is for protection, meaning that we are working on something. We're preventing other people or actually protect ourselves from other people suing us. It's not like we're using our patent to sue other people. It's kind of like you don't want to be happening doing your business one day and somebody and one of the big, big tech companies said, hey, they want to put you out of business and trying to, bully their way into, a small business like us, right? Well, 3D Real is a system where actually we use a combination of imaging technology to create 3D object. And I guess the essence of that patent was about how, you know, you know, um, let me see here. I was gonna say that not all, 3D capture device can fit all. Just like DSLR camera, right? You have to use different lenses when it's dark, when you want to capture high speed object and all that, you have to use a different lens. 3D system are the same thing. You can't just buy a 3D device with a handheld for 20,000 and it can do all the objects, right? So what we do is we create a 3D system where you can basically it's modular and it's scalable, where you can adapt it to fit the object that you're scanning. So that's what's the pattern. Um, Patent process is I think is quite interesting. Um, I mean, you have to read the claims. You know, that's what is the essence is the claims. And we were able to get these 3D patent against, Microsoft, Nvidia, and Intel, these giants who have patent things before us in 3D system. But when we actually was surprised that we got the patent so quickly. Because if you read our patent, the patent is supposed to spell out how to recreate your invention. And even though the big company has claims on 3D virtual try-on and 3D capture, it's kind of like they never tell you how to do it. And that's what's our angle too. If you really, spell out what you did and it worked, that's when you go, hey, when you read that patent, can you recreate what they claim? Sometimes they just throw claims in there and then, it gets stuck, right? So that's what we did when we went up against, the patent officer and we said, we said that, our system does this and we claim the right to doing this and we show you exactly how to do it. You read it, you know how to do it. So in some way, when you do a patent, you also expose what you did. If you did it correctly, you basically tell the world how you did it. So in some way it's a vulnerable situation, but we needed to do that because there's so many people in this space, and we don't want to be like oh you steal this from us or and a lot of time this intellectual property can be used as tactic by big company. Yeah.
Speaking of big companies, now you've worked for Nvidia, you've worked for Intel. I believe you did some work for Hewlett Packard.
Hmm.
So tell me about what you learned from those technology innovation cultures, because they all seem so different in some respects. And what did you take from them and bring to your company?
The this is what I've learned. Interesting enough, that recently I just realized a few things that from that the sad part about Hewlett Packard is this. A couple weeks ago, in the 90s or early 2000, Hewlett Packard was the company to work for. Is the engineering the holy grail, right, of the company to work for. And the founder has, a very strong fundamental. They believe in invention or inventive as a group. Right.
Hmm.
I remember listening to Bill and Dave talk about how, they basically when they go on business trip, they have the same exact, economy class. They use the company car, exact same, they don't view themselves as superstar,
Sure.
right? And I remember when I first started there, we had the downturn in the economy, and the
Mm.
company voted to basically take 10% cut across the board instead of a layoff. Because you have family and friends who you work with, right? You don't
Sure.
want them to, yeah,
Sure.
right. So the employee has the choice, said, hey, do we want to take a 10% cut or do we want to lay off? And I mean, unanimously, the whole company would vote for take 10% cut across the board so that your colleague can have the job, right? So this would, but these days things are so different, right? Um, Nvidia is, very, very different how Intel does it. So I think it's a progression from, a founder and company who rooted in, we create companies so that we can employ a lot of people, so people can have a good job and have a good life, right? And you have a job for life if you do well, right? You do right by the company, right? To the, the superstar, rock star, and now political
Very much so.
CEO, right? So,
Yes.
it's a huge difference, and I don't know what happened to the growing gap in between. This is, very, very, I mean, I find it troubling actually, because, I think that, you know, for Bill and Dave, they knew that, even though they were very humble, they said that, nothing lasts forever. That's the one first thing they said. And they also said that they depend on each individual employee, or, the company to invent.
Mm,
Because they said that, the first phase of the 10, 15 years of the company depend on the instrument portion of the department, right?
mm,
And then, then it becomes the calculator, then it becomes the printer. So they knew that things is, had to progress. Things doesn't last forever. So they would, progress, they would basically invest in things that in the future. And they invented inkjet, right? That would bring in, so they knew, they understood this. Right? So yeah.
mm,
But yeah, the new company these days is like kind of like, similar. Well, I like to say that it's kind of like similar to Apple, right? Steve Jobs basically, his vision, runs a company. And it's remain to see, right? How far would it go, his vision? Because once that stop, who's gonna step up to do to lead, with the right kind of vision? Because it wasn't cultivated that way, right? So yeah.
mm. Um, Another issue, I guess, a facet of technology companies is, venture capital and investment, and you got to get all these folks to pool money together or find somebody to angel invest. I mean, there's a lot of ways to fund companies. And if I'm correct, the Ozone Inc. You did not go that route. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah.
Tell me
Well,
about that.
I think that I've learned a lot, from this process, and I have helped some of the female founder navigate.
Mm,
I want to mention how only 2% of women founded company get venture funded. I mean, and only 0.5% of African American women get funded, even though there's 40% of startup are women founded. This
mm,
is how startling it is. And another statistic that is really, would really shock you was that in the past 10 years, only 22 women took their company public.
mm,
Of the past 10 years, right? Thousands of companies went public. Only 22 companies
mm,
had women at the helm, right? So we are still, very far, behind. And I also want to say this, that also the venture fund themselves are also discovering how they funded, kind of try to put some thoughts, some analysis together, in how they funded things and what works and what doesn't work. I mentioned this to, several friends of mine, or, on a conversation, that if you invest your own money and you buy 38 stocks and only one of them make the money, you would say you fail.
mm,
But in a venture capitalist world, you really did really well. So, it's kind of like a different kind of measurement. But I think that you have to be able to, speak the language of, basically, and it's also, it's a whole training in itself. And it really, had nothing to do with um, technology. I mean, it's kind of like raising funding is, don't confuse, this is what I would say, don't confuse ability to raise funding and ability to run a successful startup.
mm,
It's a skill set that is entirely different. One, so that's what, because some of them could, like for I'm sorry, um I have to look up his name, but the WeWork founder, for example, right?
mm,
He raised funding. He took the company IPO, the WeWorks, and then now it's shut down, right? But but that's his ability, right?
mm,
He's not
mm,
able to run the company. He just be able to make the hype, right? Now he started a new company and he raised funding. So, sometimes these are the game that for us, female and also, underrepresented minority, we never taught how to play this game, right? The rule is not written for us, right? But I would say that things are changing, right? So Serena Williams, she has her own fund, right? And so it's, some of the like Will Smith, some of the Hollywood, and also, basketball stars, who
Hmm.
athletes who made money in the industry. Now they're beginning to venture out to expand their reach. So I think things are changing. Yeah.
Um, Also something that's just remarkable, and your story is so typically American, and I'll say it that way. Your journey from the humble beginnings that I mentioned in the open. Um, so you immigrated to Texas from Thailand at
Mhm.
the age of 15. You didn't speak English. You wound up graduating high school as a valedictorian. You earned your degree from Stanford in 3 years, or I'm sorry, from Texas A&M in 3 years, magna cum laude, all with limited financial resources. So, um, what role and what role did your family play in this? I mean, how did you get prepared to overcome such, for most people, would be really steep challenges? And when you think back about your journey, um, especially put in context of today's discussion about immigration, some of the things we were talking about
Mhm.
before we came on. Talk to me about your journey.
Oh, thank you for asking. Um, I would say that, I would also encourage anyone who's listening that to go find your mentor. Find somebody who really, I mean, it's very important for especially, for us who come from, pretty much, very challenging circumstances. So, I tell you a funny story, right? When I first landed in Texas, my mother married a Texan. And, as typical things, right? First generation, they opened a restaurant business.
Mm.
And at that time, nobody knew what Thai food is. So our restaurant is a Thai Chinese, but, most of the menu are Chinese. My mother put me in the kitchen and said, do sweet and sour pork. I'm like, well, that's not Thai food. I don't know how to do this. He go, it's Thai food to Texan, okay? And don't forget to add 2 spoons of sugar. I'm like, why? He go, American think that Asian food need to be sweet.
Hmm.
Just pour on the sugar. That's what they want. So, that's how I started. And I was lucky. I would say this, that I attended, very a neighborhood Catholic school. It's not one of those, high-end Catholic school. It's
Sure.
one of those, Catholic school where, if you get, expelled from public school, you go to this Catholic school. It is what, you know what I mean,
Like,
right?
is it a continuation school, something like that, or
Kind of, yeah,
okay, okay.
kind of. So, but it's in the neighborhood, so, I didn't know how to drive a car. So my mother said, go there, so we applied for this little, free meal plan. This is also, is related, right? But and I didn't, speak any English, and the only thing that I could attend was ESL class and math class. It was the two things, and plus, choir, do some singing in church. That's what happened. Um, and one day, I one of the nun, one of a nun who is, teach high school math. She was like the in the math department. She saw that I did okay in math. Right. She's like, oh, she said, oh, I see. She come up to me and she said, oh, I see how your life was going. It reminds me of me, because
Mm.
she is from South America, and the she joined the order to basically get educated. This is way long time ago. And Sister Mary Magdalene um, said that, if you come after school and help me grade math paper, which she hates, I would teach you calculus. I'm like, what's that? And I don't know what that is. And so she took her calculus college books. And because she enjoys doing this problem set, she said, I don't have anybody to do problem with. So she started teaching me by opening the back of the chapter and doing odd or even problems that we have solution to. So that's how we spend, our afternoon together. After that, she sent me to a few of the small competition, local math competition. I won a few of those. That's how I got, scholarship to college. And that's how I went to Texas A&M. And after that, I got hired onto HP. I'm one of the women engineer at HP at that time in the group at that time. And later on, that's how I got a fellowship from HP to study at Stanford. But without her seeing a potential in me, or without her kind of give some pointer, I mean guidance, right? So I think that for us as from the underrepresented group, and also from us as coming from challenging, you really need somebody who as a mentor, as a champion, somebody who something that you can go back to. I mean, someone who could help guide you. And, because my family, I would say that they didn't understand how to go to college. I mean, there was one famous thing that my mother said to me was, she said, you should go to Texas Tech because it's just like Caltech, because the tech in the middle. So that's what and I didn't I that's yeah, that's the story. And so I'm always wanted to that I mean compared to Thailand, right? I think the US is a land of second chances.
Mm,
So as long as you're willing, you know and there always an opportunity to correct your mistake and redo. This is unique to the US. And I always tell my Asian friends that do not change this about the US, because in the European system or in Asian system, you took a test at 12 or 13 and that's determined the rest of your life. You know,
wow.
right? You go to either non-college track and you're stuck. But but of course I have to say that you have to also be um really focused, right? I mean, I understand also that there's a lot of distraction, and when you have to work and we have family to take care of, it's not easy. And I understand this too. Yeah. I mean, I basically, when people ask me, and I said, currently, people who I would say exceptional can find a way to succeed. But I mean, what, but I would prefer us to have opportunity in this equity, same equal opportunity, right? You don't have to be a minority and be exceptional to make it, right?
Hmm.
You can be, smart, and then, I mean, you know what I mean? Yeah. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
If I can ask, and if you want to answer the question, you can. If not, I understand. But given all of the xenophobia and all of the stuff that's going on now around immigration, how does that make you feel, given that your story is what, this country should aspire to?
It is kind of strange, right? Because I felt that, so people who are here illegally, the original founding fathers, and and their descendants are telling people other people shouldn't come. Right? So this is what I, um, I would say this, right? Sadly, this is where we're coming to. And and they don't see, immigrants as, help this build this country. And
Exactly.
they did, they worked really hard. Um and, um but I would say this, in my own life, right? I would say this, that if I knew how hard I had to work in the US, I say that, maybe I won't get the same result, but if you work this hard in your own country, I think you also would get somewhere.
Hmm,
You know what I mean? It
absolutely.
you know, because my cousin asked me, right? And I said, if I knew that I have to work this hard, I have to speak a new language, learn, and all of these things, if I apply the same effort in Thailand, maybe I won't get as far, but I'm getting somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I get it.
Right?
Absolutely.
Right? So yeah, so even if you don't have a chance, but listen to how hard everybody work, if you apply yourself. I mean, things will begin to change. I really believe that. Yeah. And also needed, you just need to find an ally, find somebody and find your strength where you can go back to. And interesting enough, this is my own thing, is that because of this experience, whenever I feel depressed or I feel discouraged, I open a calculus book and do a math problem. You know,
Calculus is therapy, huh?
well, I mean, you need to find something that you knew that you can succeed,
Sure.
to give that yourself that encouragement.
Sure.
But yeah, but my husband also have, and I think that it's story about resilience. And I think that if you really, focus and really, that you will find people that will help you.
Hmm,
That's what I believe. This is the American in a nutshell. You know, don't I mean, if you ask for help, there'll be somebody who will help,
sure.
right?
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Absolutely. You kind of touched again on a little bit about fundraising, and you have a unique philosophy and success story on fundraising. Tell me about your fundraising philosophy, and you also, I think you came up with a formula for fundraising that proved to be successful. So talk to me about that.
Oh yeah, this is pretty much just, came in from experience. We were we were creating this little effect or filter for TikTok, just just to experiment with augmented reality. And one of my friend who was volunteering for nonprofit, they were up for a competition and for a grant. She volunteered for an organization for Global Strays, and they were rescue animals, with stray cats and dogs, and sometimes pigs, and also a rooster. um but they was basically they were a competition for a grant for $100,000. So my friend called me up and said, we need to win this competition, and there's only 5 days left. And I'm like, so what have you guys been doing so far? So they were showing me, the stuff that they did on Instagram, or a bit on TikTok. But it's pretty much, the typical appeal to sympathy, those kind of, typical nonprofit, right?
Sure.
So my intern at that time said, oh, I mean, this thing, it said that, we did a little bit research, and we found out that people donate 64% more money, or donated more when they're happy. They want,
Hmm.
and they share happy story. Like you listen to a comedian, right? Like I watch Jon Stewart now that I get my news back when he's back.
Sure.
Right? I share his funny stuff, It's very funny, right? You don't normally share, atrocity, unless you were like, sharing with some certain friends that right? But in general, sharing of, happy story, that's what you do, funny story. So we decided to saying in 5 days we don't have money to buy ads, and we shouldn't be buying ads, right? And how do we get people to share? We have to do something funny, something cute. We approached a few pet influencer. They actually were dogs that have 2 million followers.
Wow.
They basically put the sunglasses on, and then the rest is history. They were able to win $100,000.
Hmm.
And this is on UCG. They got over 100,000 likes and share. So it was amazing. Then we realized, you know what? You have to go back and look at the data and see how people behave. I mean, sob story can get you only so far. People are happier, donating money for happier times or sharing story, right? So that's what we call theory of funds, right? Fun is where people will share your story organically without you having to buy ads, and people will engage and then becomes your active followers,
Hmm.
become your basically your fan,
Hmm. Makes perfect
right?
sense.
Yeah.
Makes perfect sense. I
Right?
mean, yeah, I'm sitting there going, yeah, in my own situation with trying to get subscribers and followers, and yeah, I can definitely relate to that. So maybe offline, I'll be picking your brain a little bit more about that. Um, let me
There,
ask you
there
now.
are there are many fun stories, and I just came back from Palm Spring, so
Beautiful in Palm Springs. My
yes.
wife and I went down there about a year or so ago, about a year and a half ago. We went down there for a music festival. It was great. It's beautiful. Um, we have a few minutes left. I want to talk to you now about the Women's Rights March in the Metaverse. And one of the things you said that I really liked, and when you said, augmented reality doesn't depend on the goggles because I had the headset and the whole thing, and I just felt goofy. I mean, it was just like it didn't work for me. So, but tell me about what you did in the metaverse in holding the first women's rights march in the metaverse.
Um, so I had this, when Dobbs first got overturned.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Actually, no, Roe got overturned with Dobbs'
Dobbs
decision.
decision, right?
Yeah, that's right, with Dobbs' decision. My daughter called me up, and this is my older daughter who's in 25 at that time, called me up and said, "What is going on?" Right? She was really upset. And she started calling her friends, who live. She had a friend who lived in Texas, a close friend, a best friend, and one who lived in Tennessee. And she said, "You better start moving back to California." Right? She's like really mad, she go like, "What are you doing there?" And actually, in a sense, because of these whole, women's right and also reproductive right decision and movement happening, actually women is risking their life living in a red state. I want to
Right.
say this out loud because OBGYN are leaving,
Absolutely. Well, they're
right?
being criminalized,
Right,
which is
right.
the
I mean,
problem.
I don't think they understood that yet. If you don't have doctors, who's gonna treat you? You
Exactly.
know, I mean, you're gonna wait, I mean, you're gonna wait what, a year and a half to get a pap smear? I mean, this is like ridiculous, right? My husband's family in Idaho, same thing, OBGYN are leaving. So I'm like, so you really, not only that, you have no access to women's health care. This is like a situation that's happening is going to get worse and worse. But my thought at that time was that when my daughter was calling me, and I thought, wow, what can you do during COVID, and also, to go protest,
Hmm.
to go to Washington, D.C. in these places. Most lower socioeconomic, I mean, basically a working person can't really take some time off to protest for a day,
Right.
because they need to, pay rent, right,
Right.
and feed their family. So what would be a low bar, armchair kind of protesting that we could do? So we came up with this idea of doing Women's Metaverse March, where you can log on with your go into like Land, which is an open source a metaverse, and you can join the march by putting on my body my choice kind of t-shirts, get some prizes, and basically engage with people around the world who agree with you, and it wouldn't take income away from you. You can
Sure.
do, so that's what we did. We figured out a way to we it's very similar to like a real march. We have a different stopping point, and we have pieces of land in the metaverse that you can walk through. It's actually quite fun. So we were able to, get some engagement and show that, that, marching in person and also marching in the metaverse is also another alternative where we can use technology for social good. right? Because when you lower the bar, then people can participate and you can see, support from all over the world. When I did that, actually, one of the people, one of a few women from Turkey, from the Middle East approached me and said, you're a Web3 activist
Mm,
because she said that, marching in the Middle East for women is like a death sentence.
mm,
It's against the law, right? Women to do any of that. And they said that the only way they can do this is, in a digital world, right? To anonymous.
mhm,
Because, I mean, we should be thankful, we only have to deal with a couple or troublemaker, when we march here in person. But, in the Middle East or in other country, there's much more strict, you know, it's deadly. Yeah. But I would like to,
okay.
like, see more of that, right? To begin when Web3 comes back. I think this would be like, significant, motion forward because I wanted people to see, that you can participate, and
Mhm.
voice your and participate in a way where it's lower the barrier of entry.
Very interesting. And again, with everything going on in the world, I imagine this could be, to your point, a way for people to become more engaged because there are people who are reluctant to go to marches. I have a good friend who didn't want to go to a particular Pride parade this weekend because they were like, I don't know what's going to happen over there. It's just, I don't feel safe. And so, in that sense, I think you're absolutely right. Giving people a chance to participate in ways where they're more comfortable and also to increase the engagement. So, well done. Well done.
Oh, thank
Um,
you.
so, before we close out, I do want to say I met you at the 30th anniversary of the Sacramento Film Festival. And within about 2 minutes, you had created an image of me, if you recall. I'm going to show it right now. My audience is see it right now. It was absolutely hilarious. But that's, it's just again some of the things that the fun stuff that you
Mhm.
guys are doing. But in that vein, shout out to Martin and Naya and all the team there at the Sacramento Film Festival. They do great stuff all the time. I met you and Rosie, who's going to be on the
Right.
show later this week. But is film something that you really enjoy, or how did you get into and get hooked up, I guess, or become part of, or
Well,
come to that event?
it's true, Rosie. Rosie and I have been friends for a long time, and it started off a long time ago when my young daughter, took some acting classes,
Hmm,
and Rosie was part of that acting group, so it was fun. But actually, I wanted to mention that, um, aside from when we talk about experiential, kind
sure.
of the digital experience, this is also a movement that I also wanted to push forward. I don't know whether you knew, like in most sports events or even any of these conference and things that we go to in person. Now we're back in person, right?
Sure.
What is the most wasteful is those swags. Get
Yes.
those things, right? And $68 billion a year of swag we're giving away. Okay. But 90% of those end up in the ocean. They
Yeah.
just jump,
Yeah.
right? They sit in your closet. They
Yep.
sit, right? And what did you get? Most of the time you get it because it's free, is that getting the free stuff that you want.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't do any branding of the company that pays any good. You might wear that t-shirt to wash your car, but who sees it, right? I mean, for the amount of money you spend, right? And how it really damaged the environment. So my current cause is to do digital swag, which is create the experience that is personalized to you that you will remember, like the poster, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
no real object because that is really kind of wasteful. And the object that you want to produce, like the swag you want to produce, should be somewhat personalized. Like I went to a music festival. I really want a t-shirt that said, anniversaries or we were here, oh is
Mm-hmm.
here, that kind of personal that
Mm-hmm.
I would keep.
Mm-hmm.
But not the t-shirt that, 10,000 people bought.
Right.
For
Right.
$75, same thing.
Right.
Right? And then they have the overstock. So I wanted to shift that, to become some kind of digital experience that I'm not saying that I could replace the whole swag market of 68 billion, but if we can chip in a little bit, like kind of eats into that, we could really, save the environment.
Yeah.
That's what, yeah.
Agreed. Agreed. Well,
Yeah.
oh, again, I want to thank you so much for coming on the Edric Show. I really enjoyed our conversation. Congratulations on the success of the Ozone and what's coming down the pike. Or if people want more information about you or the company, where can they go?
Please just, go to, filters.us.io. That's where we do most of our, experiential experience. And we are actually working on with a few partners on creating this type of experience with museum, where instead of just having a glass display, now you can transport yourself into the object or the clothing
Hmm.
or the caveman, so that you can experience some of that little, storytelling and what you go to museum for is to, to experience that. Yeah. That's
Hmm.
what we're working on. But movie also, festival is we wanted to see you again in Sacramento.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. In fact, we did submit a short. We produced our first play, Raised in Hell. We filmed it, so it's going to be a feature film next year. But we did a short, which we did submit. So Martin, if you're listening, hopefully we'll be included in the next
Oh,
Sacramento National
excellent,
Film Festival.
excellent.
So I hope to see you there. But yeah, I just when I met you and Rosie, you guys just had so much energy, and we had a conversation. I wanted to have you on because you're doing some really innovative things and your story is so compelling. And so, thank
Well,
you,
thank
thank you,
you for
thank you.
having me on, and I really appreciate it to be able to share.
You're
And
very welcome.
hopefully, this, give some of the audience some insight and something they can take with them, and think about, how to, move forward with it.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
And before you go, there's a couple things I want to ask you. Will be as soon as I close out, so don't hang up.
Okay, all right, all
I want to talk to you a
right.
couple of things. So, as I said, this is another edition of the Edric Show. My guest has been Oh Tepmongkol-Wheaton. She is the innovative pioneer and CEO of the Ozone Incorporated, and also filters us. And you can get more information at the website she found, and we'll put the website down so you can get a look at it. As promised, intelligent conversation with interesting people. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell. You'll get notified when I post content each and every week. I want to thank you for tuning in, and I will catch you on the next episode.